Final topic here, Rodney. And speaking of outrageous, that is what Amherst College called Department of Education's investigation into Princeton in an open letter signed by presidents at more than 80 colleges. Rodney, what's this all about?
I love this. And so the president of Princeton University wrote an open letter about a month ago. Maybe it was a little more than that, but it was certainly within the last 45, 60 days saying, the whole country is racist. We have a history of all this. Racism is everywhere. It's horrible, whatever.
Just like math. Also a story on informedamerican.com.
Yes. And the president of Princeton went on to say, we all have a part in trying to correct all this, and racism still exists even in our own community here at Princeton University. Mm-hmm. And so he goes on, well, a lot of people look at it and they, whether you think, it is or it isn't, the guy just wrote that they are racist at Princeton, that the people who run it are doing things that are racist today. That is literally what he wrote.
Right.
And so Princeton receives federal funds, and it is against the law, Title IX, to discriminate based on race. And so Princeton receives federal funds in the form of student loans. When you get a student loan and then you pay your tuition, that's considered receiving it, which is why, some schools don't take student loans. And so, or like that. And so anyway, the Department of Education sent an inquiry letter to Princeton going, hey, you said you were racist, and we would like for you to show us this because you're breaking the law. And they asked for a spreadsheet of specific instances of racism, being the person who was, the victim of this, the people, and the action that was the racism. And so they said, essentially, prove it. If you're telling me you're racist, if you're holding out to the world that this is it, clearly you broke the law, prove it. And so Princeton is like, well, what do you mean? I was just kind of, and then they don't go on to say being politically correct and everything.
Virtue signaling.
So Amherst and Wesleyan, the presidents of Amherst and Wesleyan wrote a letter saying it's so outrageous that you were going to investigate them. This is horrible. They said, racism exists. It exists in our own institutions. And you got to think to yourself, hey, wait a second. You just said we're racist too.
Yeah.
And you have 80 other universities whose presidents signed on who are all saying we're a bunch of racists. And so if you look at what the Department of Education did, they went and investigated somebody who said, hey, by the way, we're all racist. They now have a whole list of schools who are raising their hands. And as I wrote, it looks like the Department of Education is going to be real busy because I imagine they're typing up letters right now to send to all of these schools saying, send me the spreadsheet that tells me who you were victimizing as you put your racist policies out there.
So by virtue signaling, they may have indicted themselves.
Well, yeah, and it's not that they may have. I mean, the black letter of the reading of it is clear. It says our institutions are racist. Well, clearly you think that's true. I don't know what you do with that.
Me too. Oh yeah, me too.
I don't know. Good. So I appreciate the point of what they're saying, but I don't know how we got so far down the road of absurdity to where this is what people would say out loud without recognizing the logic of what they're putting out there.
Yeah.
You on paper wrote we're racist. It's like, okay, then show it to me and let's go about fixing it. And by the way, you're probably going to lose your job because all of this is illegal if you're doing it.
Well, this is sort of the ever-changing definitions of language and stuff like that. I think, but I would assume there is a federal definition of what that actually means, whereas they were trying to describe some, I don't know, amorphous thing out there. But if you're going to claim it, then yeah, this is going to be a problem.
Well, I believe these people to be intelligent, and so I certainly believe I have some, inkling of what they were trying to say, but I'm not going to help them.
No,
because this is how we all get here, is by saying, oh, well, they just meant, or, oh, they were trying to talk about. And we don't need that. What we need is for people to speak plainly about issues before them and how they're going to address them. And so when we allow these things to move and shift like this, we're causing problems to get bigger instead of fixing them.
Well, that's interesting, right? Because this is it is actually, even though we're making light of this is a serious issue.
Right.
And certainly there could be violation of federal law. And it can and does harm people. But if we're going to play fast and loose with defining that term and what that harm is and does, that's a problem too, right?
That's my point. And so I'm with the Department of Education for calling them out, because we've gotten to a point where everybody is doing this. Everybody, right? You see many institutions that are claiming these sorts of things. You see private businesses that are claiming this sort of thing, and you have to show it to me. You just claiming this because you think it goes down some positive road for you, I don't understand. Because if you can't identify it, then tell me what you're going to do to make it better. If it's like saying the first step in solving a problem is to identify the problem. And so to say there are racist outcomes in the United States is easy. To then turn around and say what's the policy that creates this is hard. And so I don't want us to let the easy language stop us from identifying the hard things that can help us move forward as a society. And that's exactly what we do when we let these people get away with saying such things.